Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Fraud Watch Friday, the first one of 2026. Thank you for joining us. And as always, I've got Kay Tomlinson, our lead Fraud Watch
Hello.
volunteer, joining us. Hi, Kay. How's things going today?
Going very well, kind of jumping into the new year. No fear.
Well, yeah, and we've got a good topic for the new year. We're going to be talking about health and wellness and medical type of scams. And kind of like we talked about last month with holiday scams, where you get a lot of gift card scams, charity donation scams that come with the season. The start of the new year, I mean, I've got, my supplements that I'm going to start taking now that I have started last January probably and then fell off. But con artists are always looking to take advantage of kind of what's current and what's in the news to run scams. And like a lot of people are resolving to start exercising or get in shape or whatever. So that's a good hook. But this goes on all year, but we just thought this was a great topic to kick off 2026 because you can get suckered into spending a lot of money, as it turns out, and you can also actually endanger your health. So Kay has been looking into this as she does all of our Fraud Watch Friday topics. So Kay, what can you tell us?
Oh, thanks, Bruce. And Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. So, has anyone made any New Year's resolutions? Seems that we like to do that, don't we? And for a lot of folks, I think probably us included, resolutions many times are going to revolve around getting in shape, getting in better shape, a renewed focus on our health. And those aren't bad goals at all. And a lot of us, not just in the new year, as Bruce said, look to dietary supplements to help boost our health. So, as Bruce said, today we're going to talk about fake supplements and fraudulent weight loss products. Now, I've always understood, you probably have too, that we need to be cautious about these fake products. But I can tell you that I recently joined a meeting with representatives from the Washington offices of the Federal Trade Commission, the Insurance Commissioner, the Washington Secretary of State, and fraud investigators from the Better Business Bureau. I learned that scammers are not only continuing to exploit our ongoing demand for these supplement products, just like they have in the past, but reports and complaints have surged dramatically very recently. Criminals aren't only flooding social media with ads, promises, miracle cure stories, they're using AI-generated deepfakes, usually of celebrities, such as Oprah Winfrey's a really popular one, as well as fake online pharmacies to sell counterfeit products that can cause really serious issues for your health, and in some cases, even death. According to the Better Business Bureau, these AI-generated ads are popping up literally everywhere, and that's especially concerning because now investigations show that foreign-based entities are shipping raw materials, sometimes deadly materials, to the US for packaging, pretending to be US-based companies with US-made products. They're buying ad space, not just in social media, but even local news programming. And of course, today we're not just going to talk about dietary supplements because we know that GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Wegovy have surged in popularity, but so have the scams that are targeting people that are eager to access these drugs, or at least products or procedures that claim to deliver similar results. Many of these folks are hunting for cheaper options. We know these are expensive medications, so they buy compounded versions of the drugs. They don't come from the manufacturer. They come from a private, usually online pharmacy. And many times these medications are knockoffs or they're highly dangerous. So I want to step back for just a minute, step back, because we might think that the Food and Drug Administration regulates dietary supplements just like they do for drugs, such as like the real Ozempic or Wegovy. But that's just not true. If the companies that manufacture these supplements are legitimate, they're regulated by the FDA as a category of food, not drugs, meaning that the manufacturers themselves are responsible for safety. So, legitimate supplements regulated as food. No pre-market approval for their ability to produce a desired or even an intended result. Manufacturers are responsible for safety. There's no systematic testing. That's dietary supplements, all of them that we see on our shelves. In terms of post-market action, after these medication, I'll say products, not medications, after these products have hit the shelves, the FDA only steps in if a product is shown to be unsafe, like if it contains contaminants or false label claims. So when we talk about those GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, real GLP-1 medications are strictly regulated since, well, they are actual drugs and they undergo very, very strong review and testing processes. So, dietary supplements regulated as food. Real medications now used for weight loss regulated as drugs. And the legitimate supplement industry, hey, it's a $70 billion a year industry. Weight loss medications, nearly $60 billion a year industry. So it's not surprising that, like the Better Business Bureau says, we're being inundated with false drugs, scams, dangerous frauds, with criminals that are looking to get a piece of that really huge monetary pie. So when we're talking about fraudulent products, what kind of danger are we really talking about? Well, dietary supplements. Some have been tested and shown to contain fentanyl. Some testings show these to contain actual sawdust or harmful chemicals. Of course, any of these can cause toxic reactions, infections, kidney, liver damage, the list goes on. And if we're talking about those fake weight loss products, you know, the ones claiming to be all the Ozempic-like drugs, counterfeit ingredients is really an issue. Counterfeit pens have been shown to contain insulin instead of the semaglutide. Obviously, that's going to cause side effects that aren't expected. And some of those same fraudulent products have included animal-grade semaglutide, not fit for humans. Also, these illegal products often arrive, if you order them online, often arrive at your home warm. That violates very strict temperature requirements that keep real injectable medications safe. And of course, there's the risk of infection from lack of sterility. So we always come back to the same question here on Fraud Watch Friday. What can we do to protect ourselves? And I want to inject here too that, you know, this is a lot of information. I appreciate that. We will be sending you a recap of this information with our follow-up email that comes after this session. So don't feel like you have to write everything down. But like I said, we always come back to the same question here. What steps can I take to protect myself? If I really am kind of interested in a specific dietary supplement or even a weight loss drug or a procedure that I've seen advertised, and goodness knows there are a lot of them. Well, I can tell you the number one thing to do. I'll say that again. I can tell you the number one thing to do. One more time. Number one, talk to your healthcare professional before you do anything, before you take any medications, any drugs, anything that you've purchased other than what your healthcare professional has prescribed for you. If you're going to go visit, take all your medications when you go, or at the very least, a really accurate list of everything that you're taking. And don't be shy. Don't be secretive. Ask questions and include over-the-counter drugs that you're taking. Talk to your healthcare professional. So, what should we look for as you start investigating some of these products? Well, really examine the advertising. Anything that's promising to cure or prevent any serious disease. Think in terms of cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, even heart disease. They might even reference miracle results from recent studies that, of course, not yet published. Phrases like lose weight effortlessly, guaranteed results. These are two really popular ones. Miracle cure promises. And remember, if you see massive numbers of positive reviews online, they can be fake, easily faked. And be wary of supplements for not just weight loss, energy, sexual enhancement, bodybuilding. The list goes on. But what if you go ahead and you do purchase a product, especially online from an ad or from a pop-up, or if you've been directed to a website, or even if you've purchased it at a kiosk in the mall? Once you get the product, really examine what you have before you ingest anything. Valid labeling is a complex process for real medications and real supplements. So look for misspellings, grammatical mistakes, even inconsistent or really cheap-looking fonts or logos on the label. They can all be there. Look for a specific list of active ingredients. You don't want to see phrases like digestive blend or natural complex. And if you see a phrase on the label that says manufactured in an FDA-approved facility, that's a red flag, because the FDA does not approve supplement manufacturing facilities. Red flag. Remember, authentic products, they have those, tamper-evident seals, child-proof caps that we can't get into. They have lot numbers, expiration dates, clear contact information of how to reach the company that made the medication or the product. Fake packaging, likely not going to have this. And remember, natural doesn't mean safe. Some real natural substances might still be harmful to you or interfere with medications that you're taking. It's just one of the many, many reasons you need to talk with your healthcare provider before you take anything that you've purchased. And once you have it, really inspect the product. If they're pills, look for different colors, inconsistent textures, unusual shapes. And, give it the smell test. An off smell or an aftertaste, a pungent smell, that can indicate counterfeiting. And that can be tough because, granted, some legitimate products can smell really horrible as well. I've had some of those prescription drugs, but step back and review where you purchased the product. Review all of this information that we're talking about for red flags before you do anything. So you know what to look for now. What else could you do? If you are interested in a product that you see advertised, check the FDA database. It's FDA's Health Fraud Product Database. And Bruce, it looks like you've put that link in the chat. Thank you. That'll also be in the follow-up documentation that comes in your email. And beware of subscription traps online. Really, really, really read the fine print on the label, and especially on advertisements and websites. Don't just click, "I agree," to the terms and conditions without reading them when you're purchasing anything online. You should be aware that scammers often lock consumers into expensive, recurring, unauthorized payments. And if a site offers to sell you what's essentially a prescription drug, like Ozempic, without a prescription, it's a scam. And just like any other product, if the price is too good to be true, drastically lower than normal, it's likely fake. So, basics to remember as we wrap up here. Purchase products at reputable companies, reputable brands, reputable locations, like your local pharmacy, your local retailer, your big box store. Not online unless it's a recurring product you purchase from a legitimate online retailer. And again, not at the kiosk in the mall. Also, one final note, be aware of and be cautious of anything shared with you by family or friends, because no matter how insistent, how well-intentioned they are, even if what they want to give you is a real product, you might not know how it's going to interact with your current medications or with your health system. So, what if you're the victim of a scam? Well, what do we always say here on Fraud Watch Friday? You guys know this by heart. Report. The Federal Trade Commission regulates the advertising of supplements and medications. They ensure that the claims are truthful and not misleading. They investigate these frauds. You can go online at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Again, this will be in the documentation coming with you. And finally, let's end where we started. Talk to your healthcare professional before you take any new product, regardless of what it might be. If you're visiting your healthcare professional, take all your medications with you, including over the counter. At the very least, make sure you take an accurate medication list with you. Don't be shy. Don't be secretive. Don't be embarrassed. Do your research. Talk to your doctor. And again, take a look at the follow-up documentation that we're going to be sending to you after this session with our survey, because I invite you to share that with family, friends, and anyone else that you might know and see, because this is important information, not just the new year and not just for resolutions, but all year round. Talk to your doctor. Bruce, we need to talk to our doctor.
Yeah, yeah. That is certainly true, because I'm the sort of person who sees, a miracle cure for something that I'm afflicted with, which seems to be more and more as I get older. So
Yeah.
It's always like, can this really work? But some of our standard fraud advice applies here, or all of it probably. But if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Mhm.
But also that you get what you pay for.
Right.
If you are getting a GLP-1 drug for a lot cheaper than it is everywhere else, that's a red flag. And it also occurs to me, I just saw in the news that I believe it's Wegovy is now going to be available in pill form. So
Mhm.
that's going to be a lot easier to counterfeit. I imagine, when it was only injectable, that's a little bit of work, but you can make a fake pill very easily, it seems.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention, probably should have said this up front, but we are not giving medical advice. Talk to your doctor is always a great thing to do on questions like this. But we are giving um, advice for you to consider as you make medical decisions, not medical advice for you to act on in your particular situation. Always have to be clear in health and legal matters, that this information is for information purposes only. Um, but also occurs to me to mention that back when we were doing a fraud investigation in at the University of Iowa, we met a woman whose mother was getting just boxes and boxes of supplements, like big cardboard boxes. And there was obviously a caregiving situation going on there, but this woman had gotten on lists for telemarketers who were selling her supplement after supplement, and I don't think she ever took any of them. She was just agreeing to buy them. So
Oh,
so there's also a family caregiving element too, that your loved ones can get signed up for these subscriptions that can cost them thousands of dollars,
mhm.
to buy things that maybe sound good to them on the phone, and they're just junk. So but I do want to get to our questions.
Mhm.
um, and the first one here was from Shauna, and she asked, will you have a listing of company names to watch for that have already been shown to be fraudulent? And I'm wondering if that is that something that the FDA link could address?
You can check the Better Business Bureau scam tracker online. Just go to Better Business Bureau online and do a search on scam tracker. They will list company names that they've been investigating. You can also go to that FDA.gov health fraud product database that I mentioned that will be in our follow-up email documentation. And that will talk about recent investigations and fraud scams that the FDA has been looking at and what's been reported. Also, if you are curious about a specific company or a specific product, go online to your search engine, type that in, followed by the word scam or fraud. I can tell you a while back, I saw on my Facebook page Oprah Winfrey talking about the pink salt weight
Hmm.
loss diet. And, that's kind of a resolution year round for some folks. And so I was kind of interested. I use pink salt in my cooking. So I thought, well, hey, I've already got pink salt. Maybe I could give this a try. Well, you read through it, and then I went and said, pink salt diet, scam, question mark. And it was one of those in between things that we also need to watch out for. A procedure, a diet, a product that yeah, there's a book about it. Yeah, there's lots of documents about it, but it hasn't really been proven to do anything good for you. And in fact, if you have certain health conditions, it can be quite damaging to your health. So go online, do a search, product, procedure, diet, whatever it is, followed by scam, and just read some of the information that comes up to get really a better view, because I can tell you some of these claims, they are expertly convincing when you see them. And, hey, hope springs eternal. In the back of our mind, we're always kind of thinking, hey, maybe, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's always tempting if there's a shortcut. If I could just have my salt be pink, then that'll solve a problem. So that's
Yeah.
always tempting. Um, and I wanted to thank I wanted to thank Randy for her comment. If you have a doctor you have a hard time talking with, change doctors. I think that is good advice, because a lot of our advice from ARP about any health related thing is talk to your doctor. So if you can't get a hold of your doctor, that is good advice. So I don't see any more health questions, but if you have questions on our main topic today, there is still time to put them in the chat. But um, James has brought up that we talked about virtual credit cards last time, and Kay and I did not know the advantages of a virtual credit card and what to do about that subject. But we promised that we would come back to it, and true to her word, Kay has looked into it, and so I'm very eager to hear about this, because I might want to do it after I hear the information. So, Kay, can you circle back on virtual credit cards for us?
Yes, absolutely. And so, I've certainly read and heard about virtual credit cards over the last several months. Kind of didn't pay attention, to be quite honest with you. I use one credit card for everything online and just kind of bumped along, ho-hoed, everything was fine. And so with our questions last month, I realized I really needed to understand and find out some more about this. And they've gotten quite popular. And it actually, what I've found out is that the virtual credit card is just what it sounds like. It's virtual. It's a digital card number, and it's generated by your bank or your credit card company, your existing physical credit card company, that you can use to make an online purchase. And so you can't use it in a physical store. It's only for online use. And so instead of sharing your physical card number and like linking it to an account that pays a payment every month, like a subscription, or using it for a one-time purchase, you can use a virtual card that's been created by your bank or credit card company, and you can use that number one time, and it's only good for that one purchase. If that company is breached or hacked, that card won't be any good because it was a one-time use only card. Or you can use a virtual card that sits on an account to pay those subscriptions. So I actually set up a couple of virtual credit cards yesterday with my credit card company. I was telling Bruce earlier before our session that I had done this, and I even called my credit card company and grilled the poor customer service lady, probably to within an inch of her life. She was so patient, and really answered all my questions. I ended up going onto my credit card company website. Sidebar, keep in mind that not all banks, not all credit card companies offer virtual cards. You really need to contact your financial institution to see if they offer that. But I thought this was going to be like a big process. And what I did was log on to my credit card company website. And of course, right there, there's a little button that says, create a virtual card. Learn more about this. So I read through all that. And then I thought, okay, well, I've already talked to the poor customer service gal. I'm going to create a virtual card. And wow, was it easy? I clicked on the button, create a virtual card. A pop-up came up with a card number. And so I thought I better write this down because I'm going to lose it, But I actually took a screen print. And so pop up with a virtual number question. And it had an expiration date about 8 years from now, as well as a security code number, the little 3-digit or 4-digit number on the end, on the back. And so then it said, is this a one-time use or recurring use? So I left it recurring and I just said, okay, that was it. I now have a virtual card linked to my physical credit card account. And there's other steps you need to take to use this card. If I wanted to use it one time, I would create that card number on either the app or the website for my credit card company or bank. I would go to whatever online store I wanted to buy something, get to checkout, key in that virtual number with the expiration and security code. I'm done. If that company is breached and a fraudster gets that card number in the database that they extract, it's not going to do them any good because it was for that one-time use. It's not any good anymore. And if I want to, I can go back online for my credit card company and delete that card from the account, make it go away. I don't even remember what it was. Or I can set up a recurring card, take that number, go to an account that I use for like monthly payments, streaming service, Dish Network, someplace that I buy a lot of stuff from. Set it up. This is the second step you have to do. Go to that account, sign on, update your payment method, input the new virtual card number, expiration, and security code, save it as your default payment method. You're good to go. I can tell you as soon as I clicked, I want to set up this card with my credit card company, I got an email and a text from the company. A new virtual card has been created on your account, ending in the last 4 digits. The second card I created, I got another email and text. New virtual card set up. If you don't have notices set up at your bank and credit card company anytime there's activity on the account, make sure you do that so you can be aware of the balance and any transactions that happen. So anytime a charge is made, whether it's a one-time purchase on that virtual number or recurring, that charge shows on your regular physical credit card statement. That was a really important question I asked my credit card company. Am I going to have to manage like 2 or 3 statements now? I'm having trouble keeping track of this one. No, everything goes on that one credit card, physical credit card statement. And depending on your company, you may still earn rewards, mileage, anything like that, just like your physical card. Going to go against your credit limit for your physical card, or you can set up a separate credit limit for your virtual card. This is a lot of information, isn't it? That's why I called my credit card company. I encourage you to do the same thing. But the main thing and the main reason to even do this and to take the time to go through and set it up is, there are several things, the benefits. And people like virtual credit cards because of the enhanced security. Prevents your real card number that can be used anywhere from being exposed to potential fraudsters. If a merchant's database is hacked, only that virtual, sometimes temporary card is compromised, not your primary card. Even for my recurring subscription charges, if that website is hacked and somebody gets that virtual credit card number, it only works on that website. They can take that number and go to Verizon and try to buy 10 phones. It won't work. It only works on that site. Plus, you have control, set spending limits, make them single use. You can lock them, unlock them. You can generate them for specific purposes and delete them after use. If you lose your physical card or it's damaged, you can use one of the virtual cards on your account. So again, there are advantages. In some cases, on some websites, you may be able to log on to your account. There may be a drop down to create or set up or add a virtual card. That's why I really encourage you to contact your financial institution and see what they offer, because many are going to be different. Not every institution offers this feature. Not every website will accept a virtual card. Most will, many will, not everyone will. Disadvantages: you need to manage these cards either in an app or online. You need to input that card number in each website where you want to use it, whether it's single use or a subscription. And you can't really add virtual cards to a digital wallet yet, like Apple Pay or Google Wallet. I don't use either. You can't use them in a physical storefront. So again, there's a lot of information out there about virtual credit cards. They are safer. Again, if that card number is stolen, it's only good for certain things or it's not good at all, depending on how I set it up. My physical card, if that number is stolen because I have it set up to pay a monthly subscription on a website I'm assuming is going to be safe, anybody that gets that card number can buy anything anywhere. Again, sign up for notices from your credit card company. So I don't know, Bruce, I don't know how much sense that made. That's about all I know for virtual credit cards. I will probably set up more because it's so easy to do rather than using, like one card for all my subscriptions. I'll probably set up one virtual card for each subscription, and then you can name your cards, give it a nickname. So I've got like this company, this company, this company, and here's the virtual card number. I can see on my website what it's for, and I can change it at any time.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good description. I think I'm going to look into that for my online subscriptions because the fewer companies that have your credit card on file, the safer you will be. Although you always have to be vigilant. Sally asks, and I think you touched on this. Does the actual charge show on your regular statement, or is a separate statement generated?
Yeah, it shows for my credit card company, which is one of the major companies. It shows I will see everything on the one statement. I look at everything online, and then I also still get a printed statement. I'm working on that, but I see everything on one place. That is something that when you contact your financial institution, I would encourage you to ask to make sure that that happens with them as well. I can't say it's the same absolutely for everybody because your company might be different. They might set it up separately. I just know that for my company, it has been a very easy, transparent process.
Okay, actually, Sally has an interesting follow-up. She's talking about debit cards, and if there's a debit card option, that's a good question. Do you know anything about virtual debit cards?
I do not, and I have not heard about that at all in terms of virtual debit cards. Over the past few years, we've always encouraged folks that for anything that they use online or even in a store to use a credit card rather than a debit card, because if your debit card is compromised, that number can be like an open window into your bank account and potentially any other linked accounts. So, we always encourage for online use a credit card. Your fraud protections, if there is fraud, are typically minimal. Legally, you're only responsible for $50, but typically that's why we always reference a credit card. Um,
Yeah.
and I can see, Sally, your follow-up. Sometimes you can't use a credit card without a fee being assessed. And sometimes that is the case. I would say that that's really gets down to being up to you. A credit card, legally, you have more protections than a debit card. A bank is going to help you if your card is defrauded. But again, credit card is going to protect you more. Health insurance premiums, I that again, every company is going to be different. So if that's the only thing you're setting up a virtual debit card for is for health insurance premiums, talk to your bank about doing that and talk to your health insurance company to see if they will even accept a virtual card of any sort as payment. I know many times in the past we've had, I just have not direct deposit, but it directly pulls out of my bank account rather than charging a card. My husband writes a check for insurance payments every month. To each his own. You really need to decide what you're the most comfortable with and what you want to pay. And then what can you take advantage of from your bank, credit card company, and health insurance company?
Okay. Sean also mentions RFID wallets help keep cards from being scanned by passersby. I will say that ARP gives away RFID protectors to put your credit cards in. I don't know if we still have any, but there are FraudWatch Network branded ones. If you come to one of our fraud events, our I haven't heard much about that passerby scanning though. Do you know if that's still something that's going on?
Yeah, I would think if you're in a high tourist area that you might have a bigger risk, kind of like pickpockets. They always say, you go to this town, this particular tourist area, watch out for pickpockets. That might also be the case. It has not necessarily been on the radar in terms of a high volume crime. A lot of what's on the radar for high volume crime are anymore being perpetrated by almost consortiums of criminals working in conjunction to really reach out, especially online. So again, I think it's a good idea. I have that. I have the little AARP things in my wallet and just in case. But and I know a lot of backpacks and luggage anymore includes that technology along with wallets. So it's still a good thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, get your ARP branded one. I don't know if we'll send them out. Probably not because they're such a light item, but they are available if you happen to see our tables at events. Prakash asks, is it better to set up payments directly from a bank account instead of using a credit or debit card?
I typically don't take that option. I mentioned I had done it in the past with health insurance. Typically don't do it now. With our health insurance, I would set up a virtual credit card if the company would accept that as a payment for a recurring payment. Now that I've kind of looked into it, set up a couple, set them up, and realize really kind of how easy it is. So, yeah, it's kind of like it's still a direct path. I know sometimes I'll buy something, like I'll go to PayPal, and they'll say, well, do you want to use the credit card? Or you can set up direct access, to pull it from your bank account. I never pull it from my bank account.
Yeah. I think a standard piece of advice that we've given for a long time too is a helpful thing in these situations is to monitor your accounts,
Mhm.
and be sure and have online access to your bank account and to your credit card accounts. I mean, that's really a good way to keep track, because the sooner you call attention to any sort of odd looking transaction, the easier it's going to be to handle it.
Mhm.
And our former state director, who is a fraud expert, he was checking every day for a while. I don't know if he still does. That might be a little much, but on a regular basis, not just once a month, would be our advice. Um,
Mhm. And Bruce, just to add to that, sorry to interrupt, but just to
oh,
add to
sure.
that, just to follow up on something I mentioned earlier, um, whether it's a credit card or a debit card with your bank, go to each institution and set up notifications to where whether it's an email that you can see on your smartphone or whether it's a text to your phone if you don't have a smartphone, or both, either one, and set up notifications to come to your device to tell you, um, I get what's my daily balance. So I keep track every day. Um, I get notices if there are obviously new virtual credit cards created on my account. I get notice if there's a deposit of any amount or if there's a withdrawal of any amount. I get those notifications and my little phone pings at me. So it's really easy. I just look at it and I go, okay, that's just fine. I know that, expecting that. I can delete it, move on. I don't have to worry about it after that. Easy to set up online, and your institution will help you if you're not sure how to do it.
Okay. And Randy has a little bit of advice as a
Hmm.
retired accountant. So
All right, good.
yeah, that's good. And she basically says if you're someone who uses your debit card and doesn't want to have credit cards, talk to your banker and let them know that you want one credit card with, she says, for example, a $500 limit
Mhm.
and a limit for a limit. I'm going to read this again. A limit for only what you want to plan to spend online monthly. So basically, the advice is to talk to your bank that you have a debit card with, and see if they can help you out with that. I know my bank sends me a credit card that I don't want. So I think they're always eager to give you a credit card. So you need to discuss with them, that it works for your situation. But that is good advice, I think.
And
Um,
yeah, really good advice. And you can do that with a virtual card as well. Set a low credit limit to,
yeah,
and so, but yeah, go to your bank, low credit limit, even if that number is compromised, a fraudster tries to use it anywhere, it's going to be declined because it's over limit. So again, another step in protection. It's great advice.
yeah. Um, Diana asks, and I think this is in relation to health products, but it's kind of general as well. Are items sold on Amazon safe? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's Andy's smiling.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts
It's
on that too.
it's like, to me, it's like any website online. It's there are some that are reputable, some that basically say you can shop like a millionaire for not very much money. And you everything that I've purchased from Amazon has been name brand, not a problem, easier than going to the store. I've never had an issue. Keep in mind that Amazon is also a reseller, so to speak, to where the Amazon store, other companies will sell their products through Amazon. I don't know what qualifications Amazon requires for any of those companies. Um, all I can say is if you do get something and the quality is not good, companies like Amazon typically have pretty relaxed return policies to send it back at no charge to you. Um, So again, I have specific accounts, and I encourage other folks to do this. Specific accounts online that you like to use. If you want to branch out and try something else, do a little research first and look for reviews online. Look for the name of the company followed by scam to see what kind of reviews pop up. So taking those few steps first, I think, is really helpful. I've never had any trouble with Amazon. And I know some people just really hate them for many other reasons other than their products. But again, I've never had any trouble.
Yeah, I actually know that Amazon has a very active anti-counterfeiting unit. I actually know someone who works in it. So I assume they must find counterfeits, and I know they are working hard to stop anti-counterfeit products from coming through. But as Kay mentioned, there are international consortiums of criminals always trying to run frauds in any conceivable way that they can think of. So, I think the answer is that you can't rely just on the fact that it's sold through Amazon because it could have slipped through or etc. So I think if you go to the name brand stores on Amazon, that would be a good place to start. Where you can see a name brand that not just some random company. So kind of the short answer is you do have to do your own homework there, I think, as well.
And what
Um,
Sally mentions is true. You can see when you are looking at the description of a product, it says fulfilled by Amazon, or if it's coming from another store directly rather than from Amazon. So
yeah,
really a
I'm
lot of
not
information available.
I'm not sure exactly how that works. That's a big subject, how Amazon gets products to your house, and I don't know anything about particular products, so I probably shouldn't say on that. Uh, but actually, Terry asked, "Does FraudWatch have a phone number to call?" And yes, we do, and I will put that in the chat. Um, and Tejan asked, "Do you discuss Apple Wallet?" I guess I guess that's a good question because you mentioned Apple Wallet and also Google Pay, or is it Apple Pay? Anyway, wallets and payment services. How do those relate to the virtual world?
Well, from what I saw, Apple Wallet or Google Wallet don't work in the virtual credit card world, but I really don't know much about Apple Wallet. I don't use Apple products. I don't know. Andy, do you use Apple at all, or are you familiar with Apple Wallet? And like I said, I've been told that they don't accept virtual credit cards, but
Right.
is that
Yeah,
true? I'm not sure.
absolutely. So Apple Wallet and Google has an equivalent one. Will allow you to link multiple credit cards, so you can actually have three or four and choose the one you want to use.
Okay.
While they won't use, so Apple Wallet and the Google equivalent, I think it's Google Pay, are both quite secure in the sense that they're tap to pay. So
Mhm.
when you pay with them, your credit card information, unlike the chip reader, your credit card information is never passed.
Mhm.
It's all encrypted, transactional only. So that's the good part. The other good part is you need to unlock before it will work, which means you can't do a drive-by tap to pay kind of thing. You have to unlock it first. So those are great.
That's good.
Apple Wallet also doesn't, if you're using the Apple credit card, it's semi-virtual in that they offer a rotating three-digit code. It changes every now and then. So a little bit of security because I don't know how often they change, but it's over a week.
Mm.
So you can't take the Apple credit card number that you had a month ago and use it. It'll fail a three-digit code.
Okay.
So not as good as virtual credit card, but better than nothing. Um, but I think both of those options are actually remarkably safe, well encrypted, and as long as you've got good security on your phone, are good options.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I just obviously don't know really much about them, don't use them. Um, Heck, I'm just dipping my toe into virtual credit cards. So,
There is one more layer of security.
And what is that?
When you use Apple Wallet and you do your transaction, it creates on that account a separate number, and that number is only good for that purchase
On your receipt.
and it shows up on your receipt.
Okay. Well, that is good to know. And I also want to mention that Andy did a presentation for us on tapping versus swiping versus inserting your card, and I was convinced by that. I'm now 100% tapping, unless the tapping doesn't work. I finally getting the hang of finding the little icon and getting it to tap. So I feel I'm much safer. So that was a simple tip that Andy convinced me, and so now I'm all tapped.
Right.
And we are coming to the end of our time. Well, actually, Shauna says I need tips on the tap method. I don't know. Are there any tips, Andy, that you can give Shauna?
And why is tapping better? That's really the question.
All right. Why don't we go back to that? Because it was pretty simple to understand.
It's actually
So,
pretty
Andy,
simple. So you have a
Andy,
credit
can you
card
give
number.
us the recap?
Yeah. So you have a credit card number. And if you go through the slide, the magnetic strip, your credit card number is passed over to the merchant that you're doing so that they can make a charge. And the same is true of a chip. With a chip, at least it's encrypted, but it's still the entire credit card number plus your name plus your 3-digit code are all encrypted in that chip. And there are active decryption methods to break those. Tap to pay, be it either with the tap on the card or an Apple Pay or a Google Pay, doesn't pass your credit card information at all. It passes a single encrypted transaction that the bank can use to figure out who's who, but the merchant never sees your credit card information. And so anybody breaking in and monitoring the merchant will also not see your credit card information. That's what makes the tap to pay a lot more secure.
Yep.
As for how to tap, well, there are two parts to it. One is, and I have to do this every time, I have to look at my credit card and find that little 3-bar symbol so I know which side to tap.
Yep.
And then far harder is every one of those little devices that's at the merchant puts their little receiver in a different place. So it's now, where is it on that receiver thing? And it takes about half a second to a second. So you tap it and you wait, and then that didn't work. And then you tap it somewhere else and you wait. And then, so sometimes I'm actually caught, spending 2 or 3 times before it finally gives me the little green dots that say read it.
Yeah.
I think it's worth the effort to go find the right spot to tap.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times they'll have that little icon, but it's just in a different spot each time.
Right.
Yeah, I'll show you. This is kind of what the there. I mean, the icon looks kind of like that. But Andy is right. It's always in a different spot, and you've got some Gen Z barista waiting for you to find it. And I just say, hey, it's going to take me a minute, and kind of they always laugh. So, and it's also the case that the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's easier to find the icon and wait for the little beep.
And when you're old, they eventually realize you need help, and they point to where you need to hit.
Right here. That's right.
Exactly. So, but I think kind of to boil that down, it's just we talked about skimmers on sort of gas pumps, where they steal your information. Tapping kind of avoids all that skimmer risk, isn't that right, Andy? I mean, there's no way to skim your card if you tap it.
Right. And even with the insert with the chip, there are skimmers that read those now too. So tapping definitely avoids the skimming. There's no information crossing that you can skim.
Yep. All right. How are we doing on time, Bruce?
Well, actually, we are over time. If you have a question, we'll stay on for another minute and answer them. And looks like that is all the questions. So we are going to wrap it up today. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I will say that we will be back next month with another Fraud Watch Friday. I'm putting in, this is our Fraud Watch Friday page where you can see video recordings of the past 5 Fraud Watch Fridays, if you'd like to get into that. But also you'll find the link to register for next month. And if you'd like to just go directly to the link to register for next month, and we would appreciate that. You can sign up now, and then you don't have to think about it. There is the link in the chat. We've got one last question here sliding in. Doug asks, how does PayPal compare to Google Wallet? That is over my head. Kay or Andy, do you want to tackle that?
Andy, I don't use either very often.
So PayPal is much more appropriate if you are paying someone that you really don't know much about them, right? And it's much more appropriate across the internet. So Google Wallet and things like that aren't going to work as a internet purchase. So PayPal is secure. It's well known. It is. You have a little bit of the Venmo problem of once it's out, it's hard to get back, unlike a credit card payment. So you know who you're talking to, and it will work just fine.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, actually, perhaps these various ways of payment would be an interesting topic for a future Fraud Watch Friday. If you think that would be interesting, put it in the comments, because I admit I don't always know the advantages and disadvantages and even the uses of all these different forms of payment. So,
and they keep changing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm putting in the helpline number if you would like to speak to a Fraud Watch Network volunteer about any fraud question and ask them your personal question. If you think you might have been approached by a scam or you're already involved in a scam, you can talk to a trained volunteer who can advise you. And also if you're caring for a loved one or have a friend or a relative that you're trying to help, that is a resource that is free, and you just call and a volunteer will speak to you about your personal situation. And if you're interested in volunteering for ARP to fight fraud or just get involved in Washington State, there's an email and you can send your inquiry, and we will get back to you. And I'd also say for the next Fraud Watch Friday, if you want to tell a friend, we are trying to grow this through kind of word of mouth. So if you found this information interesting and helpful and useful, tell somebody else to join us the 3rd Friday of next month when we will be back with our Fraud Watch Friday. So, Kay, is there anything you'd like to say to wrap us up?
Oh, thanks, Bruce and Andy. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us. Come and join us next month. We are going to have a special guest who is the advocacy director for AARP Washington, and we'll be talking about ATM machines, and not just regular ATMs, but ATMs and other devices like Coinstar that accept cryptocurrency. And even if you don't know anything about cryptocurrency, I can tell you it's easy to be at risk of the frauds revolving around cryptocurrency and ATM, even to the point of the legislatures of many states passing laws trying to regulate these ATMs. Seniors are losing millions and millions of dollars on crypto ATMs. So join us. It's going to be a very, very important session next month with lots of great information.
All right, great. Well, actually, DM, I guess, tried to register, so thank you.
Oh,
but he says the link I put in isn't isn't the right session. So, so I will put that in the follow-up email. Please look out for that. But you can find the right link. Oh, well, Sally says that she can register. All right. Well, we will figure that out.
Okay.
Our website is arp.org/FWF. That will have the latest there. So thank you, Kay. Thank you, Andy, for jumping in. I think we're going to have another volunteer help us out next month, but I don't want to put him on the spot. But but this is all a session for you to answer your question. Actually, I think Lisa has the answer. If you go to the FWF page, I actually have the link for today is there still. So if you click on that, that's not gonna work. You have to click on the one that says February. So hopefully that'll help. So anyway, with that, geez, all this technology. Come on back and see us next month. We'll look forward to seeing you. Thank you for joining us today, and stay safe from fraud. And we always say stay healthy too. That's appropriate for this topic. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.